Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Today we'll be taking a look at the differences between goblins and elves within the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Before we get started with the differences, of which there are many, I'd like to make note of a few similarities that these two species share. First and foremost, both of these magical beings have powerful abilities to perform magic. And secondly, their appearances aren't all that different. They are both smaller than humans with skin tones that are on the lighter side. At least, that's true of the goblins and elves we met throughout the series. Of course, every creature's population will have varying appearances from individual to individual. However, for the most part, many of the goblins and house elves that we are introduced to throughout Harry Potter, and even Fantastic Beasts for that matter, have long hooked noses and larger pointed ears. Alright, now that's out of the way, let's get to the details that truly mark each of these magical creatures as unique. They are different species. To start with, one of the most obvious differences between goblins and elves is, of course, the fact that they are not the same species. This can be seen in a few particulars, including their differences in appearance. For example, goblins are a lot stouter than elves and they have long, claw-like fingers with sharp nails. Elves, on the whole, seem to be a lot more slender, with their bodies appearing to be more proportionate than goblins. Their dispositions are completely opposite. When it comes to house elves, for the most part, they are very mild-mannered, obedient creatures. This can be seen even in the way Dobby punishes himself for talking ill of the Malfoy family, despite hating them and no longer being in servitude to them. Goblins, on the other hand, have a very well-known reputation for being tricksters and dishonest. Whether this is simply wizard prejudice or not, the fact remains that the little we see of goblins within the series does support this. They have unique brands of magic. While elves have magical abilities that seem to surpass much of wizard kind, it appears as though goblins' powers are somewhat more the same to humans. This is supported by the fact that elves can apparate and disapparate at will, and much of their magic requires no wand at all. In what we see from Dobby, it even appears as though elves have telekinetic abilities, and the power to become invisible. Although goblins seem to know much of magic, there are not a lot of examples of them using their powers throughout the series. This could be attributed to the fact that perhaps much of their magic is tied to an instrument, such as wands, similar to witches and wizards. It's mentioned in Harry Potter that goblins were banned to own wands sometime during the Goblin Rebellions, in an effort to control their abilities and subdue them under wizarding rule. There's a disparity in their social statuses. While it doesn't appear as though goblins are treated overly well, they certainly have a higher ranking within the wizarding world than house elves. Throughout both the Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts series, goblins are seen working somewhat lower class jobs. Bartenders and bank tellers are the two most obvious that we see, although they also clearly run Gringotts Wizarding Bank, which doesn't seem all too bad, considering. As for house elves, they are mostly living in indentured servitude, with the only possibility of release requiring them to receive an article of clothing from their master, so that's clearly worse than low-ranking paid gigs. Their languages are different. Goblins are known to speak to one another in a goblin language known as gobbledygook, whereas house elves are only ever presented as speaking English. However, this doesn't mean that house elves didn't also have their own language. While there's no proof to suggest the existence of such a language, I find it difficult to believe that magical beings with such power would be without a native tongue. And with that, we've come to the end of another video. What did you think? Did I miss any major differences between goblins and elves? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.